What's going on, everybody? It is your boy Chris, man. We are here at the Work Hard, Play Harder podcast. It is Monday, November 25th, 2024. My name is Chris Drummond. I am a freelance sports reporter based out of Minnesota here. I am a proprietor of this podcast, and I work in sales of Work Hard and Play Harder, where I bring individuals on to talk about their why and get to know them outside of their occupation. I got a special guest that's going to be coming on with me today. She is a government accountability reporter for MLK50 based out of Memphis, Tennessee. Prior to that, she worked for the Commercial Appeal in Memphis, Tennessee, and also the Jackson Sun that's also located in Tennessee. Her name is Katherine Burgess. We're going to talk to her about her why of getting into journalism and also get to know her a little bit outside of her occupation. So without any further ado, I introduce you the wonderful, talented, and the beautiful Katherine Burgess.
Hey, Chris.
Hello, good evening, Katherine. How you doing?
How are you doing today?
I'm doing very good, very good. It's wonderful to see your face. It's a lovely face to see. I just want to say that off the bat.
Thank you.
Um,
Glad to be here.
thank you. Thank you for coming on to my podcast. I really do appreciate it. Work hard, play harder. I want to ask you a couple different questions. One, how's your week starting off? And two, do you have any Thanksgiving plans?
Oh, well, the week's starting off kind of slow. It's the Monday of Thanksgiving week, so not a lot's getting done around here. I've been trying. Uh,
Sure, sure.
as for the week, I'm gonna go see my family. My parents and my brother live in the Nashville area. And
Mm,
then my sister and her husband will be flying in from Houston, and we'll be making a lot of food and eating a lot of food. I'm in charge of the pies and the mashed potatoes. So my mom does just about everything else. So it'll be great.
okay. That sounds absolutely amazing. I mean, to be in control of that, pies and mashed potatoes, why not? I mean,
It is a lot
those
of pressure.
are essential. Yeah, that is a lot of pressure because those are two essential things to have at Thanksgiving for sure. And I'm very fond of the Nashville area, no question about that. I love Nashville. One of my favorite places to go, no question.
Nashville is great, but I personally think Memphis is better. I
You
have to
know,
put it out there.
absolute Bill Street. I'm very familiar with Bill Street out there, and the barbecue is like none other. No question about that. No question. And I've also been to Graceland. So, um, yeah, because I went to school out in the southeast. That's where my mother, my aunt, and my uncle live. They live in Georgia. So, I went to school out there, and I had a few chances, few opportunities to go to Tennessee, Nashville, Chattanooga, Knoxville, and Memphis. All those cities I visited
All
in,
big cities.
right? So I love that. Love Tennessee the state. Period. So it's pretty awesome.
It's a great state.
Catherine, I want to reiterate to you why I wanted to have you on here, and that's because I know you're a government accountability reporter, but for the MLK50 right now. But I know you've also been reporting for the Commercial Appeal and Jackson Sun. So you've been doing reporting for a few years now. And I've also done reporting as well for a few years with different publications. And now I've actually transitioned to freelance, but I've been in this industry for about 6, 7 years. So I love talking to different people about their why because we rarely get an opportunity to get to talk about ourselves because we're always going to get the story instead of being the story. We're taught to not put ourselves as the story, right? To be a pillar in our communities. But everybody has a story to tell, including you, and your story is just as special as anyone else's is. And I would love to hear that from you and just really get to know you. So I'm very excited to have you on my podcast for sure. And the first question that I always start with is the same for everybody, and that is, what is your why? What is your why of doing what you do? Did you have any role models growing up? Is this something that you always wanted to do, or did it fall into your lap? I mean, what is your why of getting into the industry of journalism?
Yeah, so it's definitely not something I've always wanted to do, but I think since about maybe my junior year of high school, I've had a very clear focus and a clear path toward journalism. And one thing you probably don't know about me is I actually grew up in Phnom Penh, Cambodia.
Yeah.
Um, and where my parents worked in relief and development work, including poverty alleviation and anti-human trafficking. And I was homeschooled, but I took some online classes, including some just amazing writing classes starting in about 8th grade. And I quickly learned that I loved to write. I was always writing fiction and short stories and poetry and all kinds of random things. But at the same time, I was finding myself as a kid being asked that question, oh, what does your dad do for work? And I would say, oh, he works in anti-human trafficking. And at the time
Mm.
was right now there's plenty of awareness about human trafficking. But at the
Yeah.
time, people would be really confused or they'd say, oh, that doesn't happen. Like that doesn't happen anymore. So I
Right.
myself having to try to explain a difficult subject
Right.
as a young teenager. Um, and I think that really imprinted upon me the fact that you must know about a problem in order to be able to address it and to fix it. A few years into that, I think it was my junior year of high school. There was a case of illegal land grabbing in Phnom Penh. There
Wow.
was a community of artisans that had survived the Khmer Rouge genocide, were working on building back up their arts and their culture, and they lived on the riverside in what was prime land, and a casino company wanted the land. And so the government sold the land without consent of the people who lived there and who owned it. And the government went in with bulldozers and bulldozed the people's homes as they fled in the morning.
Oh
And
boy.
I remember hearing about this and being like, people need to know about this. And I think I wrote something about it for my church. I got my youth group all involved. I
Wow.
was trying to just like get people to know, like, hey, this happened. And if you care about these people, you need to put pressure on the government to make sure this sort of thing doesn't happen again and that there are reparations. Um,
Mm.
I also just started learning about, I don't know, I started going to all kinds of events that were making the news, started reading the Phnom Penh Post and Cambodia Daily and BBC. And yeah, so it all kind of came together that by the time I was looking at colleges, I knew I wanted to do journalism because I realized the power of words and the power of writing and being able to raise awareness about issues so that a difference can then be made.
Wow. That this is a hell of a start to the conversation, Catherine. No question about it. Yeah, I did read somewhere that you did grow up in Cambodia for sure, and what a heart to have. Seriously. You hear a lot of people that have a plethora of reasons why they get involved in this industry. I mean, mine was pretty much my dad. He really loved sports, and he really implemented that in my life. And I love sports, and I knew that I wasn't going to be a professional player. So, what better way to do it than to write about it and get paid for it? It
Yeah.
was a shock to me that people would actually pay you to write about sports, but I was like, this is cool. So I wanted to, expand on that and be able to go to college and do it, and now do it on a professional level is really amazing. But to hear your story of getting your church involved and dad working as an anti-human trafficker, you growing up in Cambodia, even the story of what you just said about the bulldozing of homes, that's awful. But we need more people like that to be able to get stories out like that, because if we don't bring attention to it,
Mhm.
the story would die, and nobody would know about it. So I'm very happy to have someone like you in our journalism field. And I'm sure there's many others, but I'm talking to you right now, so we're gonna give you your flowers for your heart for sure.
Thank
Um,
you. I've loved
but
journalism. I mean, I don't think I really knew what to expect when I jumped into it, and I'm constantly learning more and constantly being surprised, but it's been a wonderful field to be in.
absolutely, no question about that. I wouldn't change either for myself either. You went to Union University, if I'm not mistaken, which is also a university in Tennessee as well. I would love to know, were there any other schools that could have persuaded you from going to Union University? Because there's a lot of fine establishments in Tennessee, no question about it. Just basically in the city of Nashville, there's some, and Memphis too. What made you want to choose Union University?
Uh, Three reasons.
Mm,
They gave me a good scholarship. Uh,
okay.
they have private dorm rooms,
Mm,
and I'll say four reasons. At the time when I applied, they had a very good campus newspaper.
Okay.
Um, I remember I think I applied to about eight colleges.
Okay.
Um, and I visited all of them. Sorry, you can probably hear my cat. He's being a grouch. Um, but I visited all of them and I got their campus newspapers and I laid them all out. And I was really impressed with the Cardinal and Cream, which was the paper at
Okay.
Union. And then the fourth reason was my family was at the time living in Chattanooga. So it was just the right amount of difference. I could get home, but I didn't have to go home all the time.
Sure. Sure. Okay. Now were all eight of those schools in Tennessee that you applied for? Or did you apply for some out of state too?
I think the furthest, most of them were in Tennessee, but I definitely applied for one in Texas. And
Mm,
I'm trying to think where else. I'll be honest, I
okay.
don't remember everywhere I applied, but I know there was one in Texas because I remember flying out there.
Okay. This kind of a bonus question that just came up in my mind, Catherine. Was Tennessee, because you told me you grew up in Cambodia, was Tennessee the first state that you visited in the States?
Well, so I was actually born in San Diego, and we moved to Cambodia when I was 7 years old. And
Okay.
we still had a family here in the US in
Mhm.
quite a few different places. So we came back every 3 years for for the summer, basically. And we do kind of a road trip across the country, visiting our relatives in Florida, our relatives in Georgia, our relatives in Indiana and Illinois, and then going back to California to see the people
Wow.
we do there. So I have seen quite a bit of the United States. But Tennessee is the first state I've actually lived in and put down roots in since my really early childhood in California.
I feel that. That's amazing that you said that because San Diego is actually where I grew
Really?
up.
I had no
Yeah.
idea.
Absolutely. I went to elementary school out there, middle and high school. Very familiar with San Diego. I lived in, I don't know if you know what Normal Heights, if you even remember that Normal Heights area
I
and
remember.
Mission Valley.
Yeah, Mission Valley, of course. Yeah.
Yes. So my junior and senior year of high school, my aunt moved to San Diego and moved into the Mission Valley area. I don't even know why they call it Mission Valley area because really we were closer to Fashion Valley, but we were right across the street from Qualcomm Stadium, so we lived in
Okay.
those apartments and yeah, grew up there, love it there. Mad expensive now, but at the time, it was a wonderful, wonderful experience growing up there. Yes, my dad initially was in the Navy, so that's
Mhm.
initially how I was there because he was in the Navy as well. So yes,
Neat. Do you
absolutely.
ever get to go back?
I went back in 22 for a job interview with the San Diego Union Tribune. I did not get that job, unfortunately, but it was a great experience going back and seeing a lot of high school friends that I still talk to this day. Um, I do have cousins, but they have migrated to Los Angeles out of San Diego. So I don't have any family over there anymore. But anytime that I can go back for either an interview or maybe to do some kind of work or anything like that, that would be amazing. So I would definitely take advantage of that because I love the weather and I love Jack in the Box. So yes.
Jack in the Box. That is a fundamental childhood memory for me is eating at Jack in the Box.
Hello, I'm trying to tell you. I mean, it's every time. That's another reason why I like Nashville because every time I go back to Nashville, I hit up Jack in the Box. They're
Nice.
one of the few places that has it over in the southeast.
That's
So
true.
I,
I
I
don't think
love it.
I have any in Memphis.
Absolutely, no question. Okay, I like that. Let me ask you some favorite questions, and you just give me the 411 off the rip based upon these favorite questions that I'm about to ask you. Are you with me?
All right.
All right, let's rock with it. Here we go. Favorite meal you like to cook?
Pasta with pesto made from basil from my garden and cherry tomatoes from my garden.
Wow. Catherine, if you don't mind, next time I'm in Memphis, I may have to pull up and say hello to you. I may have to say that. That's a beautiful meal.
It's summer because I only have the basil and the fresh veggies in the summer.
Okay, that I'm just saying. Now that you know, summertime here I come, and that's a beautiful time for me, especially for a sports journalist, because summertime is kind of slow. So that'd be amazing for sure.
If you
Okay.
travel, have some pesto.
Yes, absolutely. That's I like that. I'm very simple when it comes to food. I'm not a great cook, I'll be honest with you. Breakfast foods are my favorite friend, and I love making those. I'm huge on tacos too. Tacos, I can definitely whip up something pretty good for
Mhm.
sure.
Well, you have to, having grown up in San Diego.
Absolutely. We're right there. Tijuana's right there. So I mean, why not? Favorite concert you've ever attended?
I was afraid you were going to ask this. I haven't attended a concert in so long. I don't have an answer for you.
Oh, that is all right. And listen, we're gonna work on that too, Catherine. Okay, we're gonna
Gotta
work
get to
on that.
the concert. They just
Yes, I
so
mean,
much. I find myself not going.
what kind of music do you like?
Well, really, I like classic rock. So
Okay, okay.
those groups are not necessarily touring anymore. I also am a little bit, I find myself to be a little fad driven. If all my friends are listening to Taylor Swift, I'll listen to Taylor Swift. If all my friends are listening to Chapel Roan, I'll listen to Chapel Roan. So I've got like my go-to, which is my classic rock, and then I'll also just, whatever's in the current fad, I'll probably enjoy it.
Now there is some classic rock. I'm in my 30s, Catherine. So there's some classic rock that I really love. Obviously, Journey is a group that I like. I do like Aerosmith. I do like no, I like a couple of the Eagles songs.
Yeah.
Def Leppard is another group that I wouldn't mind listening to. But those are some of the bands that I really enjoy to listen to. I don't know about Kiss. I can't go that far with Kiss now. But
Yes, is my favorite.
yeah, I can't go that far with them. However, I do like Ozzy Osbourne. I do like him. He actually made a song where I don't know if he made it, but Changes is one of my favorite songs of his. Uh,
Okay. Yeah.
no question. One of my no question about that. So yeah, I'm really eclectic when it comes to music. Like I'm all over for
Yeah.
sure.
Lately, I've
Okay.
been on a Killers kick, so I've just been playing the Killers really loud in my car, so I can like belt out the songs and no one can hear me. That's been
Hmm.
my favorite thing lately.
Now the newer ones, because those are the newer. The newer ones is I like the Hives.
Okay.
The Hives are really good. Breaking Benjamin is one of my favorites. I'm definitely into, is it called the White Stripes? The white. I think that it's Stripes. It's something with Stripes, but they're solid. They're solid.
I'll
Corn
have to
is solid too. I like Corn and Limp Bizkit. I like both of those. So
plenty of options.
yeah, it's definitely good. It's definitely good to add some rock into it. They got a nice beat. Sometimes, the music kind of crosses. So
Mhm.
I don't know if I would always call it like rock because sometimes they kind of cross genre a little bit with music. So, but it's still good. Good to listen to, regardless. Okay.
For sure.
Favorite place you like to travel to?
Cambodia.
Okay. I love it. I love it. Now, how often do you go back there?
So I moved back to the US in 2010, and then I did not get to go for 14 years. And so my first trip back was actually this past spring. Yeah. I went in March. It was very hot. And I'm already planning another trip for early 2025. Because yeah, I mean, I was supposed to go in 2020. We all know what happened in 2020, so that didn't happen.
Right.
And then between like finances and school and I wasn't able to do it for 14 years, and I'm finally at a place in my life where I can go back. So I want to go back as often as possible.
That's definitely on the bucket list, Catherine, to go to Cambodia. I'm a traveler, so I like to travel to different places for sure.
Well, I can give you travel tips for Cambodia, for Thailand too. I love giving travel tips.
Please, because those are definitely two places that I want to experience in my lifetime for sure. My favorite place is now the Cayman Islands.
Ooh.
Just recently went on a cruise 4 weeks ago. My dad set it up on my dad's side of the family, and went there and fell in love with the cruise. I'm actually planning a trip to go to Greece next year on a cruise. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. A good friend of mine is setting that up. And I'm like, yeah, I think I want to go to Greece. So I'm a huge traveler, and plus when you're by yourself, you don't really have to worry about too much but yourself. So it's easier to do that, right? It's easier to do that. So I love to travel within the U.S., but I also just got my passport this year, so I want to be able to also travel. Thank you, right? I want to be able to travel now out of the states, and see some different cultures and experience some different things. So I would love to do that.
Well, that trip to Greece is, I'm sure, going to be amazing. Greece is on my bucket list.
Okay, now, well, I would listen. You give me tips about Cambodia and Thailand. I'll give you some tips about Greece when I go there. Okay.
Big deal.
All right, now I love it. Here we go. Two more of the favorites. Now I'm a sport person, Catherine. So here we go. Favorite sport that you like to watch on TV, and favorite sport that you like to attend in person.
I like to attend basketball.
Okay.
I grew up kind of in a basketball family, and of course we have the Memphis Grizzlies here. So the energy at those games is just, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
For TV, I don't really watch much sports on TV. I will say my dad watches a lot of baseball. So when I'm home, there's often baseball on, and that brings me back to memories of my childhood. So it's a very nostalgic sort of feeling because we
Well,
always
shout out to
Padres games in San Diego growing up.
Oh, well, thank you for that. I really do appreciate it. Shout out to your dad. Your dad already sounds wonderful. That's awesome.
Pretty
And if
cool.
he's a Padres fan, that he's even more awesome. No question about it. So, because I'm a huge Padre fan.
Cool.
And you already won my heart, Catherine. You said my favorite sport, which is basketball. Basketball is definitely my favorite sport. No question about that. I'm a Lakers fan, so every time the Memphis Grizzlies beat my Lakers, it's always tough to see, but it's it's respected for sure. I've actually went to the FedEx Forum and saw my Lakers play against them, and Memphis beat them that night. But it was still a good time. It's a great. They call it the Grindhouse, so
Mhm.
they don't call it the Grindhouse for no reason. It's really a beautiful place to go to for sure, and obviously it's near Bill Street. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's amazing. So
It's a good
absolutely okay.
spot. Mhm.
Last of the favorites, which is food. Favorite restaurant that you like to eat at. I'm a huge foodie, so the next time I do come to Memphis, I want to say hi to you, of course, but I also want to go to a very, very good restaurant. What restaurant should I go to?
All right. There's so many good ones. But one I go back to again and again is Global Cafe at Crosstown Concourse. It
Okay.
is an immigrant run restaurant, and they have food options from several different countries from around the world. So you can get something from Venezuela, or you can get something from West Africa. And there's also a mango margarita that has an entire mango on the top, cut up
Ooh.
like a flower. And it is the best mango you can get in town, even if it is on top of a margarita. But
Mm.
that's such a good spot. They have just great food. It is cooked well every time. It is delicious, and it's fun because you do feel like you're able to kind of like bop between a few different countries in terms of cuisine just in one location.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds amazing. I appreciate that. I'm definitely going to check that out the next time that I'm there for sure.
Highly recommend the plantains. Highly recommend the chocolate flan. There's so many good things. Everything I've had there is good.
Yeah, definitely that chocolate flan. Now, I like that. I definitely like to hear that. Let's talk about your day to day. As
Sure.
you know, as a journalist, our day to day is never the same. It's even when you're freelance and you're making calls or pitching stories or out covering events. They're long days. They're not really business hour type days where you're working 8 to 4, 9 to 5. This is days sometimes you're working long hours trying to cover stories and trying to get them in by deadline too, which I know you know about that, and I certainly do as well. So tell me about your day-to-day process of being a accountability reporter as well. I can imagine that can be a little different from being a sports journalist, but tell me your day-to-day process of getting stories together. How many stories do you write a day? When does your day start and eventually end?
Mhm. Well, I'm pretty 9 to 5 most days.
Mm.
And I have a flexible, I can work from home. We do have an office in downtown Memphis next to the FedEx Forum. So I can work from
Mm.
home or I can work from the office, which is nice. And I tend to kind of alternate between the two.
Okay.
Uh, but then of course there are the days when it's not a 9 to 5, including I do go to a lot of government meetings, whether that's city council, whether that's the Memphis Area Transit Authority board meetings. Sometimes I'll watch them online. Sometimes I'll go in person. If I go in person, that can wind up being a very long day. Um,
Sure.
and then, of course, sometimes there's, say, the mayor has a town hall in the evening. So that's not a 9 to 5 anymore. That's going to be a something to 8 o'clock instead.
Right. Right.
It varies. It varies quite a bit, which is part of the fun, I think. It's part of the fun.
Yeah, because it makes it not a redundant type of deal, right? You're doing something different every day, and it's great to have that flexibility of working at home and in the office, because you don't have to go into the office every single day. But the stories that you're doing, they just
Yes.
differentiate, and
Yeah.
that's the main thing.
Yeah, and I think you asked a little bit about like how many stories I do and what a regular day looks like. And back
Sure.
when I was in daily news, it would be maybe 3+ stories a week.
Right.
Fast turnaround time, writing a story the same day of the event, trying to get that breaking news. At MLK50, we have a much different pace and cadence, which has been really nice to explore. It also kind of
Mhm.
stresses me out because I feel like I'm not doing enough work. But
Sure.
it's much slower. It's more like 2 to 3 stories a month, much more in-depth work. So
Right.
it's interesting. It used to be back in daily news, I'd go to the meeting, I'd write up what happened in the meeting, get that out.
Yep.
Now it's more I go to the meeting, I listen, I ask some questions, get a little story idea, try to think of something other media in town isn't covering, and then I can flesh that idea out over a couple weeks or even a couple months and finally
Right.
publish something a little more in depth.
Yeah, so longer features is pretty much you're saying, and that's it takes time to do that, right? It takes time to write a 2,500 or a 3,000 word or even more words of a feature, right? Because I
Sure.
know working in daily news, yeah, you're right. I mean, covering games, you get about 4 or 5 games a week. There's sports
Mhm.
all the time happening. And then if you want to add a feature story to it, that particular Wednesday, which out here Wednesday is our dead period, where we used to not have no sports on Wednesdays at all. So we would try to get our feature stories done when I was working in the publications by Wednesday. But the feature stories would probably be anywhere from what 8 to 1,200 words. So it wouldn't
Mhm.
be long, it wouldn't be as in depth, but it still would be pretty potent because we still had games on the rest of the week. So I totally understand that. To be honest with you, Catherine, I probably much rather do that. I really would. I love writing in-depth stories because that means you got to talk to a lot of different sources too.
For sure.
You're not just talking to one source. You're talking to
Yeah.
multiple people.
I have a sticky note on my computer that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people I need to call tomorrow. I was going to
There you
try to call them
go.
today, but that didn't happen. So tomorrow I got to call at least 5 people.
There you go. I love it. I love it. It's a great segue, Catherine, to this next question, which is mental health and
Mm,
work life balance. As you probably have experienced, and I know I have, there's been multiple times where people have left this industry because of mental health and also because of work life balance. Pay is another reason too, but that's a whole different ball game. But mental health is pretty important. It's being even more talked about, and highlighted in a lot of different conversations now than before. My question to you is, how do you balance your mental health as far as keeping good mental health, but also having that work-life balance? You seem very easy to talk to. I certainly wouldn't mind being around you for sure in a leisure type capacity, but you also seem like you're very busy as well, and you're about your work and you love what you do. So how do you balance your work life, but also maintain good mental health?
yeah, I'm so glad you brought this topic up. I love talking about mental health. I
Sure.
think mental health and work-life balance are hard for any journalist. For myself, I also have the fact that before I even became a journalist, I was diagnosed with several mental health issues. I
Okay.
have OCD and I have depression. So even if I weren't a journalist, I would constantly be working on keeping up good mental health. So when you throw in journalism and with high pressure deadlines, with people sometimes, very important high level officials coming after you online, um,
Sure.
with, lack of weekends at times. I mean, I've had with seeing really traumatic things or having people retell really traumatic things, like it's always hard. For me, I do take medications for my OCD and my depression. This has been a huge help. I would encourage anybody who has a mental health issue to talk to a psychiatrist at least. There's
Okay.
stigma about medications, but they help me. I also have a wonderful therapist. I see her as often as I can. And then there have been times when I've needed to step back, particularly my senior year of college, and then also early 2021, I took medical leaves from college or from my job at the Commercial Appeal and went and had intensive treatment. And then I was able to come back to the work by
Sure.
simply stepping away from the work to get the help I needed. So not everybody's going to need quite that level. But I do really recommend like setting good work-life boundaries. So I have two phones. One is work, one is personal. So
Gotcha.
when I go to Southeast Asia, I turn off my work phone and I leave it in a drawer. Um, so like sure my boss can contact me and my friends can contact me, but my sources can't. So I really recommend just like deciding what the best things are for you. I also really try to protect my weekends. Sometimes I'll have sources call me on the weekends and I won't answer. I'll call them back later in the week or on a Monday.
Sure.
You need that time for yourself. You need to spend time with your friends. In my first newspaper job at the Jackson Sun, I took every phone call and replied to every text immediately, even if it was 10 o'clock at night. And that wore me out so fast.
Right.
So you need to decide like what your capacity is. And then, I mean, if the mayor called me at 10 o'clock at night, I'm going to answer. But you need to just make that judgment call for yourself on whether it's something that you need to like break your personal time and take that call. I also think it's really important to have hobbies. I love to crochet. So after a long day at work, I'll sit down with some yarn and I'll make a little plushie or something. And that's just a good way. I mean, it has nothing to do with my day job. And so it's a good way to really get my mind off things.
I appreciate your transparency and your openness, Catherine. I really do. You know, years ago, it was a sign of almost of weakness,
Mhm.
right? That people would talk about therapy and we would talk about getting help because people mock that. And I
Yeah.
think that nowadays people don't mock that because it's really serious. And we've had some really tragic things happen to tragic people that mental health has really affected.
Mhm.
I love the fact that you talked about talking to therapists. You gotta talk to somebody who's neutral if you
Mm.
feel like that you want to talk to somebody because family and friends are loved ones and yeah they'll listen to your problems and you talk to them but sometimes you got to talk to somebody about them. So it's best that you have somebody to talk to and go to on that um as well. And then I also think family and friends sometimes kind of cater to you. They kind of tell you what you want to hear instead of sometimes what you need to hear.
Mm.
um and that's difficult. At least in my case, I know I've had it before. I don't have a therapist or anything like that, but there have been times where I have, found hobbies to do. I like writing poetry a lot.
Mm.
I think poetry is great. I'm a huge Edgar Allan Poe, Langston Hughes. One of my favorite books was The Rose That Grew from Concrete, which was Tupac Shakur.
Mhm.
Uh, so I love that. I love doing that, but I also love going to the gym. I love working out. I just love blasting my music loud and people trying to figure out what the hell song it is. I love that. Um, I just love to just be able to do those things and have an
Mhm.
outlet. I'm also a huge family person. Love my dad. Talk to him all the time. Huge mama's boy. Definitely
Mhm.
huge mama's boy. No question. So um, I really respect that. I like the fact that you have those boundaries set because a lot
Mhm.
of times you do have journalists that come in that are very young, especially ones that graduated college that want to be on the go all the time. Go, go, go. Yes, 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 yes. I'll do this. I'll do that. I'll answer this. I'll answer that. Like every single thing. And then they'll get burnt out.
Yeah.
Um, and you just don't want that in this industry. You don't want the burnout to happen so early. So listening to other people talk about how they deal with things is essential. No question about that.
The other thing that helps is my cats. You might be able to hear him yowling right now.
I did. I did.
He's
Mhm.
very upset. This is a closed door. The funny thing is that there's another door wide open on the other side of the room, so he's not shut anywhere. He's just very upset. But I actually got my first cat in college as an emotional support animal. I was
Okay.
having trouble like just getting up and doing my day-to-day activities and got this little brat of a cat who I've not had for 10 years. And so it's something to snuggle with, something to get you up every day. You know, you still got to get up and feed the cat every day, even if you're having trouble
Yep.
yourself. So
Mhm.
animals are a huge help too. I
I
also
like that.
like I noticed what you said about a therapist being neutral, and I thought that was so important. But also not just neutral, but trained, because
Sure.
so often you might need someone with a training that is specific to whatever you're going through. Um,
Yes,
that's not always easy to find. Like friends and family are such good support, but actually having a therapist who can work you through different processes and procedures and really parse out what you're going through is such a huge help.
absolutely. No question. Did it take you long? Because I'm sure that you've done some news stories in your time. Did it take you long to separate yourself to be able to be like, okay, you know what? I don't want to bring this news story home. Like, hard news stories. You say soft news stories and hard news stories. Did it take you long for you to separate yourself and not take it home with you? Or do you still take hard news stories home with you to this day? Like, how do you deal with that?
I definitely think I still take it home to this day. Um,
Okay.
I one of my earliest memories of covering a hard news story was in college. Well, putting aside Cambodia, but
Yeah,
in
right.
college, I was on the student newspaper, and we had an incident where a student murdered another student.
Wow.
And I went to the court proceedings, and I remember this is the cows.
Mhm. Oh, I love it. I love it.
I remember seeing this like fellow student of mine who had murdered his fiance in
Yeah.
chains in the courtroom. And I remember I wrote my story, everything filed it, got back to the dorm room, and I sat down on the floor and I just cried because it was
Wow.
it felt like it broke my brain. And since then I've had so many stories where like I have come back to my house or the newsroom and just cried
Mhm.
because they're hard. And I don't think anything's wrong with that either. Like, I think sometimes you need to feel to be able to do your job well. Um,
Yeah.
and sometimes you need to be able to get that emotion out. I talk to my therapist about work a lot when I'm dealing with a tough story. She gets an earful.
Mhm.
Um, so I think I haven't quite fully found how to leave work at work, but also I don't know that I ever fully want to. Because when you see something tragic, like you should feel that it's tragic. I don't ever want to become jaded to difficult things. I don't ever want to see something horrifying and then be like, oh, I'm fine, whatever.
Right.
But at the same time, you can't ruminate on it. You can't let that you can't get stuck in thinking about whatever that thing was. You can't get stuck in crying. You have to get up and keep going and keep doing the work. Even while I think it's fine to feel deep feelings.
Yeah, have that balance is what you're talking about, right? It's a forever thing in this industry. I don't know if we ever find the right balance, but because every situation is different.
Yeah.
And sometimes it just might be you. Sometimes it might be the day, right? The day that it happens, and you might be going through something that day, and something just hits you, right? So we try to do the best we can, and I know it's a difficult question, but it's certainly a question that has to be asked because it's a great segue to this next question, and that's advice.
Mm.
What advice do you give people that are postgraduates, interns, or somebody that may be a little seasoned in age like myself, that wants to join this journalism industry? What kind of advice would you give?
Get a therapist. No, that is actually legitimate advice. But it's a hard industry. It's very hard to get jobs. It's hard to keep jobs, and then the jobs you have are difficult. So my first bit of advice would be to make sure this is what you want to do, um, because it's not easy. I love it, and I believe I'm called to it. So I'm going to do it as long as I can. But if you're not, maybe pick something else. That sounds terrible to say, but and then I mean if you believe this is it, this is for you, I think try to find the best stories you can. Try to write stories that make a difference and garner those clips, because that's I think what will help keep you going through the hard times is knowing that what you do matters. Um, and I do recommend a therapist.
I love that. No, I do. I love the therapist, and you're right. This is the reason why, Catherine, I do this podcast. It's the A and the B side of it. The A side is what we just talked about. being a pillar in our communities, being a storyteller, being an advocate for the people, writing impactful stories, doing things like that really warms our heart, and it also informs our readers, subscribers, and just we passionately love to do that. I love interviewing people and talking to people about different things. I love building sources. That's what I love to do. But there's a B side. And the B side is that in this industry, you're gonna be sometimes asked to do things you don't want to do. You're not gonna be comfortable with a lot of different things sometimes. You're gonna miss holidays with the family. You're going to miss celebrations with your family. The pay is gonna be not very good starting out. And you gotta really, I say all that to a lot of my young boys and girls who are in, about to graduate high school and also in college. You got to love what you do and you got to get into this for the right reasons. Um,
Mhm.
I get asked, well, what's the right reasons? Well, the right reasons is not to be on camera. It's not to be on TV. It's not glitz and glamour. It's not to just have your name in the paper. Like all that stuff is great and all that stuff will happen. But if you're not good, if you're not dedicated, you're not doing the necessary things to do to be a great reporter or journalist, you'll fade out because
Mhm.
those reasons won't stand. In my opinion, and I've definitely advocated that to my young boys and girls. Like, do this for the right reasons and do it for the love and the passion of journalism, and not
Mhm.
because you want to be just recognized.
Yeah, yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I just had two more pieces of advice pop into my head
Go
that I would
ahead.
anyone going into journalism or who's in it. And the first would be to learn how to be a deep listener.
Sure.
Um, I think often, you'll have a source talking to you and you need to like really listen to what they're saying.
Right.
That will help you understand things that are experiences dissimilar to your own, and also help you know when to ask follow-up questions.
Yep.
Um, and then the second piece of advice, don't be afraid to say when you don't understand something. I
Right.
many times seen members of the media report on things, especially finances, and it's wrong because they didn't understand it. So then I'll look at it and I don't understand it either. But I go to the finance person and I say, "Hey, I'm sorry. This sounds so dumb, but I don't get this. Can you explain it?" And then they explain it.
Cool.
I say, "I still don't get it. Can you explain it again? Can you explain it to like a sixth grader level, please, to me? Thank you."
Right.
And it's embarrassing sometimes when you have to do that, or if there's a word you don't recognize, or I don't know, if they're talking about bonds and you're like, wow, I've never written about bonds before. Where do I even start? Or I've also written about religion, and so often there are these different terms different religious groups use. You might have to just stop and be like, sorry, what is that? What does that mean? It's
Right.
really embarrassing, which I think stops some reporters from asking those questions. But like, you just have to be honest and upfront about it to make sure you get the thing right.
Yeah, because our number one job is to be accurate.
Hmm.
And not to be unsure. If we're going to put it pen to paper and we're going to get that printed, we definitely have to be accurate with the information that's being allocated to us. So yeah, perfect advice. Definitely ask questions because people sometimes be like, yeah, yeah, okay, and then all of a sudden you didn't know you didn't know what was being delayed to you, right? And you talked about bonds and religion and those genres are writing about, but it happens in sports too, as
Yeah.
well. You got to ask follow up questions. Sometimes the coach says some off the wall stuff, and you like, hold on, sir, ma'am, what do you mean by that?
Yeah.
Can you know what I mean? And it's not that it's totally sometimes off the wall, but it's like you just don't understand where they're coming from. But you're also dealing with somebody in an instance, especially with sports. You're dealing
Hmm.
with somebody that may have lost a game, so emotion is pretty high.
Hmm.
So you have to give them time. Sometimes you don't give them enough time to kind of collect their thoughts, and they might just go off on a tangent. Or sometimes they may have enough time to get their thoughts and they don't want to talk to you. That's the thing that I wanted to say before I moved on.
Hmm.
Don't be discouraged because people don't want to give you their time to talk.
Hmm.
Reporters, it's okay. It's okay. It happens. There's gonna be a story that you do where you're not gonna get great content. They're not gonna give you many good answers, or they just don't want to talk.
Hmm.
Whether no matter the genre it is, don't be discouraged because it happens to every single reporter. It's happened to me. I'm sure, Catherine, it has happened to you as well.
Oh
So
yeah.
it definitely has happened before. But don't get discouraged. That's one of my main things for that, for sure.
Yeah, good advice for sure.
We have reached the podcast portion now. Now we're going to do this or that. So it's an interaction game that I do with all my guests here on the Work Hard, Play Harder podcast, where I throw some things at you and you get to choose this or that. So, Catherine, are you ready?
Yes.
All right, here we go. Now we've been vibing all podcasts. Okay, we've been doing this. Let's see if we can keep this thing going. Which chicken place would you rather go to? KFC or Popeyes?
Popeyes.
Girl, you is it. You on point like a period. I love it. I love it. Okay, we started off good. Here we go. Chicken wing flavors. Which one would you rather have? Barbecue or lemon pepper?
Lemon pepper.
Okay. Do you like your wings wet or dry?
Wet.
Okay. Do you like your wings bone in or boneless?
Bone in.
So you like to get a little messy. I
Can
like
I
it.
pause you and tell a story about that?
Please go ahead. Talk to me.
So my freshman year of college, I'm, fresh to the US from Cambodia. And my roommates, who all grew up in the US, discovered I'd never had wings before.
Oh.
So the next thing I know, I'm like trying to write a paper and they're dragging me out of the dorm room and they take me to Buffalo Wild Wings, which was really our only option in Jackson, Tennessee.
Mhm.
And they ordered us a bunch of different wings. And I'm sitting there like, I don't know how to eat this. What do I do? Do I go at it with a fork? And so my sweet American roommates taught me how to eat wings that night, that freshman year. And I had to go finish the paper the next morning. But
Oh, okay. That's how you learned how to do wings. Now, did you get the bone-in wings?
oh, they were definitely bone in. Yeah.
Okay, now.
I had
Okay,
them do
that's the only way to do
with
it.
me as I was trying to like pick up the anyways. Good
I
memories.
love it. I love it. That is a hell of a story. I love that, Catherine. I really do. Okay, here we go. We're gonna keep this going. Now, these next four have to do with music concerts you rather go to. So here we go. Which music concert would you rather go to? Would you rather go see Panic at the Disco or AJR?
Panic at the Disco.
Ooh, okay. Got some good music taste. I love them as a group. Which music concert would you rather go to? Would you rather see Journey or Aerosmith?
Journey.
You put your hands on your face. That was a was that a tough one? Okay, okay. I'm sorry, but a couple of them might be. This one might be tough too. Here we go. Which music concert would you rather go to? This is R&B. Would you rather see Brandy or Monica?
Brandy.
Ooh, okay. That wasn't as tough. Okay. Last one for the music. Which music artist would you rather go to? Would you rather see the Eagles or Guns N' Roses?
I think the Eagles.
Wow. Okay. Okay. I like that. You pretty decisive on that. Here we go. Which sport would you rather play? Badminton or bowling?
Bowling.
Are you a good bowler?
I used to be decent, I would say. It's been a long time since I've bowled.
Okay. Do you need the bumpers?
No.
Okay, well then that's good. That's all that matters. As long as you don't need the bumpers and play Wii bowling in public, we good. We don't need to do that. Okay, I'm with you on that. Which sport would you rather see in person? Would you rather see football or would you rather see hockey?
Hockey, because I've never seen it in person.
Really?
Yeah, I've been to football games. I've never been to a hockey game.
You know what? That's okay. We gonna work on that. We're gonna work on that. We gotta get you to a hockey game. Now you're in a city, obviously, that don't have a hockey team. However, you
Nashville's
know,
not far.
that I was just about to say. You took the words out of my mouth. The Predators are not that far, so we'll have to work on that for sure. Okay. Do you like desserts?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna throw out four brands or four categories, let's just say, of desserts, and you have to choose one of these you'll never eat again.
Okay.
Okay. So here we go. The first one is cookies. The second one is cake. The third one is candy. The last one is ice cream. Which one of these are you picking that you'll never eat again?
Candy.
Oh, you're gonna make me blush. You know how hard that is with my pigmentation.
I was thinking about like the delicious homemade cakes and the cookies we eat at Christmas but like candy is that processed stuff. I don't need that.
Now, see, for me, it's the same as you, but it's
Mhm.
different reasoning. I'm
Mm,
a red velvet cake type of person, so I'm not gonna give that up.
sure.
I'm also a white fudge Oreo person. I cannot give that up.
Okay.
And my ice cream is Breyer's cookies and cream.
That's a good,
Um,
it's a very good one.
I can't give those up, no matter what. Candy, I can give candy up. That's for
Mhm.
sure. I don't really
Maybe
eat much
sad, but like
chocolate.
it probably be
Yeah,
fine.
yeah. You know what I mean? I'll give that up. Do you like potato chips?
Only if they're really salty.
Okay, so I'm gonna throw out four brands
Okay.
of potato chips. You have to choose one of these you'll never eat again.
Lay's. Oh wait,
I
did I
give
get
you
started?
you did choose one of the brands, but I didn't even give you the other three.
All right, go ahead. But just know the answer is Lay's.
Okay, and that's all right. I was gonna say Doritos, Pringles, Ruffles, and Lay's.
You know, Pringles aren't great either, but Lay's is definitely the answer.
I feel that. I would have said Lay's, got rid of Lay's too. But I would have got rid of them because I'm not a huge fan of salt and vinegar. I can't do it.
I like salt and vinegar, but not when they're Lay's.
I got you. I
I
got
feel
you.
salt and vinegar is tolerable.
I think they're the second worst chip ever made.
What's
Salt
the
and
word?
vinegar chip. Funyuns, no question.
Hmm.
Yeah. The greatest chip ever made is sour cream and cheddar.
That's a
Ruffles.
good. Mm.
Absolutely. Buffalo chicken dip, dipping in there, eat it. Yeah, I'm totally huge into that. There's no question. Okay, you did pretty good on the this or that. You did pretty good. There's no question about that. I like that.
That
Except for
being
the salt,
tested.
except for the salt and vinegar, but you good. I love that though. I love it. This next question though, I love asking as well, and that is, if you didn't choose journalism as a career path that you wanted to, pursue, what career path would you have chosen and why?
You know, sometimes I still think about this on the hard journalism days. I would love to open a used bookstore. I think that would just be dreamy. Is that a realistic career path? Probably not. Where would I get the funding for that? I don't know. But since we're just hypothesizing here, used
Sure.
bookstore.
Now, is there a certain genre that you like as far as books go?
I love fantasy. I was raised on Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter and all of those good books, Narnia. And I love fantasy to this day. That's my favorite. There's so many good genres out there, but something about fantasy just, I don't know, enlivens the imagination.
So, can I be honest with you, Catherine? Can I? I've never seen a Harry Potter book or movie. I have not seen.
Really?
Yeah, I have not seen. Like the Lord of the Rings, I did watch that.
Mhm.
And I thought they were very good movies. But the Harry Potter, no, I have not seen one book.
Well, as long as you've seen Lord of the Rings, because that's more important than Harry Potter any day.
Okay, cool. Yes, I did. My mother is a huge fan of those movies. So of course, if I said that I didn't watch those, I wouldn't hear the end of it. So I definitely have watched those for sure, no question. Okay, that's what's up. I like that. I would have done theater for me.
Ah,
Um, yeah, I like plays. I like
mhm.
plays. I like musicals. So,
Would you be
I,
acting? Would you be directing?
oh, acting definitely. I think directing is not for me. Put me in front of the camera. I can do producing, produce probably, but I'd rather be in front doing a role. It could be a small role, doesn't have to be like the main role. But if I'm just out there on stage contributing, I would love that. That's something I would love to do.
Nice.
I
That would
like
be
that. I want to ask you two top four questions. And this first top four question I want to ask you is give me a top four of events or stories that you would like to cover in your journalistic career? And I'll give you a prime example for me, which is one, me being in sports, of course, Super Bowl. Two would probably be NBA Finals. Three would be the Olympics. No question. That's going to be in my hometown state next time in Los Angeles, California. And the last one was national championship game, football or basketball. So those are something I'm definitely aspiring to do that I would love to cover, be on the field for. I would be a little kid again if that happened for sure. What was four events for you?
Hmm. This is hard.
Yeah.
Um, I think especially doing government accountability, so often I write about things that are wrong or things that are awful and need to be fixed.
Mhm.
And I don't want those things to happen, so I have to write about them. Uh,
Right.
hmm. Could I change up the question and answer four things I have covered in the past that stood out to me?
Let's do it. Absolutely, you can. Let's do a pivot.
Um, so there is a story I wrote when I lived in Kansas about contaminated groundwater near private drinking wells. And
Mm.
the state knew about the contaminated water and knew it was in close proximity to private wells and did not tell anyone for years. So clearly
Wow.
that's a terrible thing. You don't want it to happen. But if it happens, I want to write about it. So I got the chance to write about that, and there were some discussions at the state legislature about changing requirements so that people would have to be notified. So if there were toxins in their drinking water that the state knew about. So that's one story I would never want to have to write about it in the future because I don't want anyone's groundwater to be contaminated. But if it is, I want to, be there writing about it. Another one would be jail deaths. I think this was about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. I did a big series where I examined every jail death over a certain period of time in our Shelby County Jail.
Right.
It was honestly quite a difficult series to report and to write. I talked to family members, I read autopsies. There were days I just had to sit down and for my mental health step away. So
Right.
again, I don't ever want to have to do anything like that ever again. But I do believe it made a difference. I do believe it had people start seeing people who died in jails as people. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, that was important to me to be able to work on that series. Although again, never want to do it again. And I'm gonna leave it at two examples, but yeah, I feel like that's something about my beat is I don't think, oh, I want this terrible thing to happen to write about it. But then when I do, and when I'm able to write about it and able to bring light to a situation, that is what I find most fulfilling.
Do you ever see yourself possibly writing maybe a sci-fi movie, maybe being like a movie critic, going to watch a movie and probably doing something like that, or maybe going to an event that's happening in Memphis, that like a Memphis Con or something like that?
Yeah, so my current job, that's probably not a thing that would happen. Um, but okay, let's fully just imagine out here. I would love to write about Star Trek. I would be a great Star Trek writer. I would love to be a Star Trek writer. Just write
Hmm.
about the new shows, the old shows, how the new shows harken back to the old shows, what's good, what's bad,
Yeah.
music, all of that. I'd be great at that. I'd love that. Is it ever going to happen? No, but it'd be great. Um, Another thing, I would love to be a book reviewer. I think it would be a lot of fun to review books. Uh,
Yeah. I can see that. I can definitely see you doing something along those lines.
I would enjoy that. What's another thing? Hmm. I would be great at like writing articles about crafting. That would be
Okay.
fun. Like,
Yep.
and actually, I might do that at some point. I might start writing patterns to sell as like my side gig. But like, I could write about crafts. I do a little bit of that, just dabbling for funsies. But
Yeah,
um,
you said you did something with some you knit, so I'm sure that you are very art. Yeah, you arts and crafts. I'm sure you be amazing writing about that.
yeah, I could do that. And then let's see if we need a fourth. I do think, and this is actually something that might be feasible. I think it would be neat to write about like couponing and um affordable, just like affordable ways to survive in like an increasingly difficult economy. I really enjoy couponing for myself. I love a good sale. I keep track of them. I know all sorts of weird
Oh, okay.
tricks and tips, and I think that could be a really fun, really practical thing for to help families like just feed themselves and get Christmas presents for the kids on like a low budget. So maybe that's something I might do in the future. That would be fun.
So, so are you like the customer that walks into the store and has a book full of coupons at checkout?
I'm not quite that not that great. I tried to do that. I am more of an online couponer these days. I want to just scan my thing. Um,
Right.
I will say I don't believe in ever paying for toothpaste. You can always get toothpaste for free. Not too long ago, I got 2 tubes of toothpaste and a little cheap makeup kit,
I
and
like it.
they gave me $2 to take it all away from them. So the like makeup kit I'll probably donate to like a teenager this Christmas who needs some Christmas present. And then I got the toothpaste in my stash and it cost me, well, they gave me $2. So I was a fan of that.
Okay. Now, I've only seen that a few times going grocery shopping, but there's always, every time I get into a line, there's always a customer that has about 10 to 15 coupons on each item, saving 60 cents here, 50 cents here. And I'm like, oh, wow, I don't know if I have the patience to be cutting out coupons and doing that with the digital coupons. I'm just like, let's just go. I'll scan it and let's pay for it.
Well, I was first kind of introduced to couponing by a woman who I wrote about when I lived in Jackson and worked at the Jackson Sun, and she was
Yeah.
a couponer. So she'd have her big binder and her different coupons all organized in it. And she was low income. She had a family. She had to make pennies stretch. And she knew how to do her math and her master couponing. So I actually went with her to the grocery store once and I watched her get like $400 worth of groceries for like 50 bucks. Like, and it took a while to go through all those coupons. But she was able to feed her family with that. And then from her stockpile, she could also sell the extra shampoo or whatever that she didn't need and use that for other things like her son's school photos. So I was very impressed by her. She definitely taught me a lot about couponing.
No question. Wow, that's that is heavy right there. I love that though. I mean, hey, to each his own. God bless her for doing that for sure. The next top four that I had for you was about Cambodia and Thailand. When I do touch down there, I would love to. What is a top four of things that I need to do? From there for like, if I plan to go there, I'm probably gonna be there anywhere from 5 to 7 days. So I want to be able to, enjoy myself. So what should I do in the cities of Cambodia, in the city of Thailand, and overseas over there?
Yeah, so Thailand, you should eat some mango sticky rice. It's good.
Mango
Um,
sticky rice. Okay.
Sticky rice. It's a very classic Thai dessert. It's delicious.
Okay.
Um, in Cambodia, you should go see Angkor Wat. The ruins of the city temples are really amazing. That's really a once in a lifetime thing you should see.
Yeah.
I would also go to Pasato Tombong, which in English is called the Russian market, which is a market in Phnom Penh, Cambodia. And that's where I grew up shopping. It's crowded. It can be very hot. It's fun. It's full of silk and jewelry and dried fish and knockoff brand t-shirts. And there's just this energy there that's really fun. You have to bargain to get the best deal, of course. The
Sure.
different salespeople love a little banter. It's just a place with really good vibes. And then
Okay.
fourth, what would I recommend fourth? Um, hmm, Cambodia, Thailand. Maybe a cruise on the riverfront.
Now,
Um,
now you're talking. I like that.
yeah. Now, in Phnom Penh, which is a city I grew up on the riverfront, you can do a sunset cruise. Sometimes they have buffets, sometimes they have like unlimited beer. There's all different options, but a sunset river cruise is really beautiful. And then if you were
Okay.
in Thailand, there's I can't remember what it's called, but in the capital city, Bangkok, there is a market on the river, and that's pretty a cool thing to see. So river related activities would be my fourth.
I love that. That's a great list. I appreciate that, Catherine. I really do. Um, Coming off that, well, let's talk about some advice. Now, we gave advice early on in the podcast episode, but now I want to know what is some advice that someone has gave you that you hold on dearly to?
Mm. So my first job in Jackson, again at the Jackson Sun,
Yeah,
I was covering, I think it was the renovation of a playground in a low income neighborhood in Jackson. The playground had become very dilapidated and the city was breaking ground on a new one. And so just a little story, quick little bitty
yeah,
story. And
yeah.
I was talking to a city council person who had grown up in the apartments across the street from this playground. And he said to me, in your journalism, make sure that you treat every story like it matters to someone, because every
Ooh,
story does matter to someone.
right.
And I think that really changed my mindset from just like knocking out 500 words about a playground to like, this is a story that matters. It matters to the kids in the neighborhood. It matters to this guy who grew up here and who now gets to break ground on a new playground. And I mean, we journalists, you mentioned earlier, you're always getting assigned stuff you maybe don't want to write.
Hmm. Hmm.
Sometimes you get sent to stuff you don't want to go to. Sometimes it feels like
Right,
you're wasting your time because you're writing about this silly little thing when you could be writing those big impactful stories. But like every
right.
silly little thing matters to someone. And you need to treat it that way as you go about the reporting and go about the writing. That's the best advice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't know who gave you that advice, but he or she hit it on the head. There's no question about it. Every story
Texan
that you
city
write
council
about,
person whose name I don't remember, but
that's okay. That's all right. The words you do, and that's all that matters, which has an impact on your journalism career, and I'm sure many others. Right? Write every story like it matters to someone, and it's really, really important to keep that in the back of your mind. I know I certainly do as well, because talking about an 0-18 team that's been playing, it's like, oh man, where am I going to get the motivation to write about this? But there's parents, there's loved ones that's coming to cheer that 0-18 team, and there's somebody that's playing on the court that really loves to play with their teammates and sisters or brothers, and you know what I mean. So I love that advice. I really do. It's so important. It really is. We are coming to towards the end of the podcast, Catherine. So now what I want to do is some rapid fire. Okay, so what that means is I'm gonna throw some things at you, and you just choose the first thing that comes to your mind, or say, I should say, the first thing that comes to your mind. Are you ready?
go for it.
All right, here we go. Chicken or ribs?
Chicken,
Burgers or tacos?
tacos,
Waffles or pancakes?
waffles,
Favorite color?
red.
Ooh, I like that. So is mine. Okay, girl. I like that. All right. Favorite TV show?
You said TV show?
Yeah, favorite TV show.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Wow, that is a classic. You you are throwing it back. I love that. Okay. I was old enough to know when they had the movie. You remember the movie Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Actually seen the movie. I'm aware of it. But it's not really looked upon fondly in the
It's
Buffy
not.
fandom, so I have not seen it.
It's not. I was really a baby when that came out. Favorite alcoholic drink.
Sangria.
Okay, I like that. Favorite card game.
I don't like card games.
Do you, no Uno or no Cards Against Humanity? None of that.
I'll play apples to apples. Apples to apples is the least annoying.
Oh boy. Okay. Oh, that's taking it back too. Okay. Dominoes or spades.
Neither.
Oh, oh my goodness. Neither on dominoes or spades.
Neither. Dominoes if I have to.
Okay, Catherine, we gotta learn one is you can't come to the cookout now if you don't know none of the games. The cookout is dominoes and spades. That's a classic right there. I'm just
Dominoes
saying.
if I have to.
I feel it. I
I get
feel it. Okay.
very competitive, both with card games, like any type of games. I get very competitive and then I get angry. And then I'm all like bottled up and because I don't like doing things I'm not good at. That's what it boils down to.
And that, I totally understand that. Anybody that puts me in skates, I feel the same way. I don't like doing things I'm not good at. I totally understand that. I get it. Okay, if you had three artists or three songs that you can listen to on repeat and never get tired of, who would those three artists or three songs be?
Okay, I'm trying to remember their names.
Okay.
Uh, crud. That's my problem is I just play music and I go, oh, I love that song, and I don't always remember what it's called.
I understand. I
Um,
understand. We ain't got number time. We good.
okay. Shot at the Night by the Killers.
Okay.
Um, In the Meantime by Chapel Roan.
Okay.
And what's another really good one? Oh, what's this song?
Mm. This is a good question. I know it is. This is a good question. I like it.
Bodyguard by Beyonce. And if you ask me next week, it'll be different.
I understand. I totally get that. I love the three songs. If you had three people to take with you on a vacation, plus one, plus yourself, so a total of four, where would you go? And who is the people that you would take with? And they could be anybody. They could be family, they could be celebrities, they could be anybody.
Hmm. This is hard.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Well, Catherine, all the questions can't be cupcakes now on the Work Hard, Play Harder podcast.
Hmm. Okay, I would go to Cambodia and I
Okay.
would take my sister and
Okay.
I would take my childhood best friend Jessica and
Okay.
I would take my childhood best friend Hannah and I would take my childhood best friend Abby. Jessica lives in the US, but like pretty far away. Abby lives in New Zealand, and Hannah most recently lived in Singapore, but she's in DC now. But I would
Hey.
reunite the childhood four friends in Cambodia.
Okay, I like that. Now, listen, I love the fact you got love for Cambodia and Thailand. But let me ask you this, 'cause I want to ask a bonus question. Is there any other place that's like on the bucket list for you as far as visiting?
Oh yeah, I got a lot of bucket list items. The
Talk
first one
to
that
me.
comes to mind would be Colombia. Both of my parents lived in Colombia at different points in time in their lives. So
Hmm.
and my mom still has some friends there. So I'd really love to go and see. My dad lived in Bogota for a little bit while he was a child, and then my mom
Absolutely.
Medellin as a teacher after college.
Okay.
So I think it would be really neat to see those places that they've spoken about, and
I
maybe.
love it. I love that. Okay, Colombia. Yeah, that's definitely on my bucket list too. Okay, last of the rapid fire. Okay, if they told you, Catherine, you're only going to be able to cover one genre of journalism for the rest of your life, which genre would you choose? Would you choose news, sports, entertainment, or politics?
News.
I love it.
That's
I
easy.
love it. That's very see. Well, listen. Sometimes I gotta throw you a layup. I gotta throw you a cupcake. You know what I mean? So, absolutely.
Question.
I love it. I love that. This has been a really, really cool conversation to have with you. Really learn about you growing up in Cambodia, coming to the States, uh, San Diego, bouncing around from San Diego every 3 years, and then going to Union University, and then from Union University to getting into your career from the Jackson Sun Commercial Appeal, and now to the MLK 50. I definitely would be remiss. I have to ask this question: how does one get a job with MLK 50? Because when you think of MLK, you think of Martin Luther King, and those are the three letters. So, how does one acquire a job like that?
Yeah, so there's a standard application process, but I think you need to be interested in our focus is covering poverty, power, and policy. Um,
Yeah.
from we're attempting to serve and also share the perspective of everyday working class Memphians. So I think you need to, if you want to get a job at MLK50, you need to feel the passion for that mission. You need to have demonstrated examples of work you have done in line with that mission. And I think also I think really you need to be passionate about what you do and the ability for journalism to make a difference.
Mhm.
Our full title is MLK50 Justice Through Journalism. Like you need to believe that journalism can make a difference, and you need to believe that we ought to seek a more just world. Uh,
Mm.
and yeah, I think if you got those things and you got the clips, I mean, we're hiring.
Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome to hear. No question about that. Again, I really do appreciate you being on my Work Hard, Play Hard podcast. I think you're amazing, but that's really an understatement by myself. And I think you do amazing work, and you certainly have the passion for journalism, and certainly have the passion for storytelling, just creating really great stories that's worth reading. So, I want you to keep doing what you do. I'm a new fan of yours, no question about it. And as I always do, here on my podcast. The final question is there anything else you would like to add before we conclude?
Wow, we've covered a lot. I would just like to add that I am very grateful to you for having me on the podcast. I've enjoyed getting to know a little bit about you as well. But yeah, thank you for the good questions and also the words of encouragement. I do really appreciate that.
Absolutely. No question about it. We will definitely stay in touch, Catherine. Keep doing wonderful things out there in the city of Memphis, Tennessee, and also have a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. We will be in touch.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving to you too.